Hello and welcome to Wound-Up. Tony Abbott once labelled Cathy Jackson heroic for her role as whistleblower regarding the misuse of Health Services Union funds. I'm of the opinion, though, that had Craig Thomson not been a Labor MP, then Mr Abbott probably would have given Cathy Jackson as much regard as he would give, say, something he collected on the sole of his shoe. Whistleblowing, I guess, is not without its risks, especially when the Royal Commission spotlight turns on you, as Cathy Jackson has now discovered. Someone who's been following the HSU case very closely is Peter Wicks. I spoke with him last week. Peter Wicks, hello and welcome to Wound-Up.
Thanks for having me, Scott. It's good to be here.
Peter, how do you think the Royal Commission is going so far? And do you agree that Cathy Jackson was ambushed?
So far, I'd say the Royal Commission is going extremely well into matters related to the HSU. I haven't really been following the other matters into the other unions so much, but into the HSU it seems to be going quite well. I certainly don't believe Cathy Jackson was ambushed as she claimed to have been. She was the supposed ambush was in regards to questioning relating to the Peter Mac money which ended up being $250,000, ending up in a fund that she calls a slush fund, but in actual fact was actually just a personal account. That had been widely reported in the media. It was my understanding that she knew that was what the questions were going to be on, so I don't think she was ambushed at all. I just think that was an excuse to get out of a hot spot.
What do you think of Jackson's excuse that the Branch Committee of Management authorised her spending?
I don't go for that excuse myself. I think it's interesting that she's attempting to use it, or seems to be attempting to use that. While the Branch Committee of Management may have given her authorisation to spend the money as she did, that excuse didn't seem to work for Craig Thomson. Thomson also had authorisation to spend money as he saw fit. And in Victoria, there's what they call a reasonable person, which is an expectation that you'll only do what a reasonable person would be expected to do. On that basis, they found Thomson guilty. Obviously, that's under appeal, but he was found guilty of spending what is amounted to less than $30,000. Some of it was through cash withdrawals that he'd made from the union account. So if a reasonable person wouldn't have expected Craig Thomson to have spent less than $30,000 over 5 years, I don't see how a reasonable person could expect Jackson to have made hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash withdrawals, or to have spent over $1 million on credit cards.
So by that standard, her spending could have been seen as perhaps unreasonable and possibly corrupt.
Well, it would seem that way. I wouldn't go so far as to say corrupt myself. I think she obviously has to be proven guilty in a court of law. But it is interesting that her seemingly main line of defence seems to be to throw her Branch Committee of Management under the bus and blame them. It's almost a sign that she knows she's got some tough questions to answer, and she's incapable of giving a decent answer on them.
Do you think that the Peter Mac money that ended up in Cathy Jackson's hands was in fact a bribe?
That's something that has been put in the mainstream media, that many have considered it to be a bribe. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a bribe. I'll let people make up their own minds as to what they think. However, the circumstances surrounding it, I mean, the Peter Mac were cancer workers, the Peter Mac Institute, cancer workers who weren't being paid correctly, and they had, it's estimated $3 million of money that was owed to workers. Cathy Jackson negotiated a deal which meant that the workers got nothing, and she got $250,000 from the hospital, which ended up in an account that she was the signatory for. If some people want to call that a bribe, then I can understand that, but I won't make that judgment. I'll let people make up their own minds.
I think it's pretty easy to join the dots, to link one to the other. Would you agree?
No, well, it's certainly a leap that one could make quite easily, I'd say. I'd just go so far as to say it's very questionable, and it certainly warrants further investigation, probably by fraud squad detectives, I would assume.
You mentioned fraud squad detectives there. Who else should be under investigation, in your opinion?
Well, obviously Jackson herself needs to be fully investigated by the police. They've had some of this information for quite a while now, and I've got serious questions as to why they haven't gone into this investigation further. Why it's taken a royal commission to bring about a decent investigation, I think it's a very valid question. Others that I think should be investigated, certainly the Branch Committee of Management. There's some people on the Branch Committee of Management that seem to have a lot of explaining to do. Some of those would be people like Kate Wilkinson, who seems to have got up at the Royal Commission and given misleading testimony. Whether that's intentionally misleading or whether it's what she believed because she'd been lied to, that's up to the police to look into. I'd also say people like Marco Bolano obviously is someone else to look into. Certainly the auditors who are controlling the books would be people who I'd be taking a close look at. Jane Holt, who was basically the financial person at the union at the time, and also Catherine Whitfield, who hasn't appeared at any of at the Royal Commission. I don't know if she's made a statement, but she certainly hasn't appeared. But she was also the branch president for a while, and her signature appears on a lot of the documentation in regards to Naranto and other payments that were made.
In your blog WixiLeaks and on Independent Australia, you write about Jacksonville. Where did that name come from?
Well, the name Jacksonville just came to me after probably one too many scotches one night when I was writing, and I was trying to think of a way to describe the state of mind, if you like, of those who were part of this faction, and to me it seemed like they were almost in an alternative reality, and it very much like a Southern Baptist style America type way of thinking. And if you look at how things are panning out now, particularly some of the commentary from Michael Smith, it's quite easy to see how far from reality these people are. I mean, you've got Michael Smith comparing Kathy Jackson to Princess Diana. You've got people writing that the settlement with Peter Mac was a great achievement, despite none of the money going to who it was actually owed to. So you can see that these people just seem to be in a world of their own.
Considering all the bad press it's had, do you think that members of the HSU should stay in the union?
A lot of people ask me that. I think the union movement as a whole is copping a lot of criticism. I think this Royal Commission's a great thing. If there's anything bad in there, let's flush it out now. Although I can't see that I can't see that a lot of evidence of corruption has come out of this Royal Commission, aside from the HSU. The HSU's certainly had a hell of a bad rap for the last few years, but Michael Williamson, as we're all aware, is gone from New South Wales. There's some new blood that's in the system in Victoria. Craig McGregor's doing a fantastic job with number 3, and I think there's definitely efforts to clean up the union. So I'd just say to members, be a bit more patient and hold on, because I think things are only going to improve from here on in.
Peter Wicks, that's all we have time for. Thank you again for joining us on Wound Up.
No, thanks for your time, Scott.